Carvana is getting sued again, but this time it's a little bit different. Last week, a lawsuit was filed against Carvana with allegations of a pump and dump scheme. Now, for those of you who don't know what a pump and dump scheme is, a pump and dump scheme is when a person, company, or a group of people pump a stock up intentionally by building up hype, and as a result of that hype, the stock price goes up. And the goal of the original hype people is to sell their shares of that stock before the hype falls along with the stock price. This is pretty common amongst penny stocks, and it's become increasingly more and more common in the world of cryptocurrency, and it is very, very illegal. In a lawsuit filed by two large North American pension funds that had previously invested into Carvana, it states that company leaders enriched themselves by fraudulently driving up company share price with an unsustainable growth campaign. Then the leaders cashed out of the stock before it tumbled. While investors suffered billions of dollars in damages, defendants' fraudulent conduct permitted them to walk away with billions of dollars. The attorney led by Daniel S. Drossman with the firm Robbins, Geller, Rudman, and Dowd wrote in the complaint. The lawsuit is seeking undisclosed damages that came as a result of this pump and dump scheme. Now, I know that whenever I think of pump and dump schemes, I personally think of a Wolf of Wall Street scenario where stock bros are convincing other people to buy some crappy stock.
Name of the company, Aerotine International. It is a cutting-edge, high-tech firm out of the Midwest awaiting imminent patent approval on a next generation of radar detectors that have both huge military and civilian applications. Now, your profit on a mere $6,000 investment would be upwards of $60,000.
But that isn't really what this lawsuit is claiming that Carvana did. Instead, it's claiming that Ernie Garcia II, Ernie Garcia III, and other executives associated with Carvana had made decisions that would artificially inflate the value of Carvana short term, but long term, this would hurt the company. Citing things like lowering the company's purchasing power and verification standards in order to get more trade-in vehicles. Expanding into new markets it lacked the infrastructure to support. And it also claimed that Carvana's leaders also violated state and title registration laws in order to quickly push through sales. Now, Carvana went public in 2017, but it really didn't start popping off in the stock market until the pandemic in 2020. So whenever we talk about growth in terms of the Carvana stock, 2020 and 2021 were really the years for Carvana. And if we look here, you can actually see a breakdown of when Carvana insiders sold. Most of the selling took place in 2020 and 2021, as well as the beginning of 2022, with Ernest Garcia II, the founder of Drive Time Automotive and the father to Ernest Garcia III, the founder and CEO of Carvana, selling by far the most. But people like the CFO, Paul Bro, the general counsel, and various other directors and insiders sold over the course of the last few years as well. You can also see a few buy transactions happening as well, most notably in the late spring, early summer of 2022. But other than that short period of time where there were a handful of buys, most of the transactions were sells. Now, Carvana has no doubt taken part in shady and downright poor business practices. Their unwillingness to file title and registration paperwork accurately and in a timely manner, inexcusable and illegal, which is why they recently lost their dealer's license in the state of Michigan. Lowering their purchasing and verification standards in order to get more trade-in vehicles. Was this a poor move? Yes. Was it short-sighted? Also yes. Was this related to a pump and dump scheme? Possibly, but it'll be hard to prove. Expanding into new markets that they lack the infrastructure to support. Was this a bad business move? Absolutely. Was it fraud? Probably not. Expanding into new markets too quickly before the proper infrastructure is established is such a classic move for businesses to make that ultimately lead to their inevitable failure. This is so incredibly common because it brings up the question of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Do you bring the support first before there's actually a business to support in those markets? Or alternatively, do you bring the business that needs the support first and then you bring that support second? And obviously the answer to this question isn't as clear-cut as it may seem because very large, seemingly successful businesses have failed at expansion for this exact reason. One of the best examples of this is Target in Canada. Target is one of the most popular retailers in the United States, but whenever they expanded into Canada, they crashed and burned because they didn't have the proper infrastructure that they needed in order to support their Canadian stores. As a result, less than a year after they entered Canada, Target closed all of their Canadian stores and exited the country entirely. I think of all of the claims that this lawsuit lays out, I think the claim that Carvana intentionally expanded into unsupported markets in an effort to pump up the stock is probably their weakest claim all the way around. But I'm no lawyer, so what the heck do I know? Now, Carvana no doubt has their issues. In fact, I think I could easily be considered one of Carvana's toughest critics here on YouTube. From their titling issues, to their lack of support for their customers, to their lack of accountability for their sketchy business practices, the self-interest of Ernie Garcia II and Ernie Garcia III, the acquisition of Odessa Auction House, which oddly enough wasn't even included in this lawsuit, but in my opinion probably should have, and so much more. But was Carvana a pump and dump scheme? Or I guess a better question would be, can you prove that Carvana was a pump and dump scheme? And I don't know. I tend to think that there is a chance that these pension funds are now having to face their pension holders, and they are really pissed. These funds invested millions of dollars into Carvana over the last couple of years, and as a result of an absolutely horrendous 2022 for Carvana, these investments are now worth a fraction of what they once were. Pointing the finger at Carvana and claiming pump and dump is a much easier way to save face than to simply put your hands up and say, yeah, we made a bad investment. Pension funds make a promise to their participants that they will have a certain level of income when they retire, and as a result, though pension funds are typically on the more conservative side, they still have to perform on the same level that was promised. I think that there is a chance that these fund managers got a little bit too risky, they invested into Carvana, they lost a lot of money, and now they're having to save face. Now, I think there are plenty of reasons that you could potentially sue Carvana, and there are many other reasons as to why I would never ever invest into Carvana. But a pump and dump scheme, I don't know. But only time will tell, and it'll be really interesting to see how this lawsuit plays out over the next couple of months. Now, one thing that I do want to mention before we close out this video is a new bill that is set to pass in the state of Colorado that could potentially be an issue for online car retailers like Carvana and Vroom. Last week, Colorado state legislatures passed Senate Bill 23-019, which is a bill that is now heading to the governor's desk and would offer new protections for Colorado customers buying vehicles from out-of-state online retailers. Under the new proposal, out-of-state online dealers would be subject to the same regulations as in-state dealerships through the Motor Vehicle Dealer Board when selling to Colorado customers. The bill does not require those dealers to obtain a Colorado business license or have a physical location in Colorado, but it does require them to follow Colorado laws and the board's rules. If an out-of-state car dealer breaks Colorado law, the board could issue a cease and desist order followed by a hearing with the dealer board. Now, I don't think that this is groundbreaking news for online car retailers. In fact, I think that regulation like this is long overdue, and I do predict that other states will soon follow Colorado's lead. But what I do think that this means is for companies like Carvana that have proven that they have issues following regulation to begin with, this is just going to be another hurdle that Carvana has to jump through in order to sell vehicles. And I think it's going to be another pain point for them moving forward. But most importantly, another layer of consequences that Carvana could have to face if they don't do their job properly. But with that being said, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned later this week because Carvana is releasing their Q4 and 2022 earnings, so I will be doing a video covering that once they are released. But like always, if you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys